Let's get right into it. Number 12. The uninvited guest. Have you ever been lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, and suddenly from the corner of your eye, you catch a flicker of movement? It's not a shadow. It's not the light from a passing car. It's something else. Your brain screams at you to turn your head, to check, to confirm. So you do. And when you look directly at it, there's nothing there. Just a pile of clothes on a chair that a second ago looked suspiciously like a tall, shadowy figure standing in your room. This is the pareidolia of the night, and it's a perfectly normal yet utterly unsettling neurological quirk. It's your brain's default setting for low-light situations. You see, the rods in your eyes, the cells responsible for low-light vision, are most effective in your peripheral vision, not in the center. They're built for detecting motion and general shapes. When you combine that with a lack of visual information, your brain, being the imaginative and slightly paranoid organ that it is, decides to fill in the blanks. It pulls from a database of common shapes, faces, and threats, and what you get is a phantom. It's your brain trying to protect you from the saber-toothed tiger that hasn't been a threat for 10,000 years. So the next time you see a dark figure in your room, take a moment to thank your brain for keeping you safe from ghosts and monsters that are, in reality, just a laundry pile. Number 11. The ghost in the window. Okay, here's a fun little party trick your brain loves to pull. You're driving home late at night and you glance over at the dark window of a house you're passing. For a split second, you see a face staring back at you. A pale, indistinct face, maybe with a flash of white, like a ghostly silhouette. You blink and it's gone. What just happened? No, it's not a ghost. It's a trick of light, reflection, and your brain's deep-seated need to find faces in everything, a phenomenon known as facial recognition pareidolia. Your brain is so highly specialized at identifying faces that it will find them in almost anything, from a grilled cheese sandwich to the front of a car. But at night, things get a little weird. A dark window is a perfect canvas for this. The faint reflection of your own face, combined with the low contrast of the world outside and the brain's natural bias toward finding a face, creates this ghostly apparition. You're essentially staring at your own reflection, and your brain, in a moment of existential confusion, decides to render it as a stranger looking back at you. So really, the ghost you're seeing in the window is just you, looking back at yourself in the dark. It's a real looking in the mirror moment, literally. Number 10. The human-shaped hole. This one's for all the people who have ever felt a prickle of fear walking past a shadowy alley or an unlit doorway. You don't see a person. You don't hear a person. But you feel one. It's a gut feeling, a primal sense of unease that something is there, lurking just out of sight. You speed up, you walk a little faster, and you don't look back. This is not just anxiety. It's a specific evolutionary trait known as threat detection. Your brain is constantly running a threat assessment on the world around you, even when you're not paying attention. In low light, your brain starts using something called the magnocellular pathway, a part of the visual system that's really good at detecting motion, contrast, and big looming shapes. And what's one of the biggest, scariest shapes we've evolved to be afraid of? The human form. Your brain, in an act of hypervigilance, is projecting the potential presence of a person into the darkness. It's creating a human-shaped hole where there might not be one. It's your ancient, terrified mind whispering, it's better to be safe than sorry. Number 9. The phantom phone Vibrate. You're sitting at your desk, or maybe out for a walk. You feel a familiar buzz in your pocket. It's your phone. You instinctively reach for it, pull it out, and nothing. No message, no notification, no calls. Your phone is completely silent. What you just experienced is a phantom phone vibration, and it's a perfectly normal modern-day sensory illusion. The average person checks their phone dozens of times a day, and our brains have become so hyper-attuned to the specific stimulus of a vibration that they start hallucinating it. It's a classic case of sensory anticipation. Your brain is constantly running simulations and creating expectations based on past experiences. It's a shortcut. The brain says, hey, I'm used to feeling this feeling in this specific context, and it generates the sensation even when the trigger isn't there. It's like your brain is so bored it's making up its own notifications. It's not a sign of a mental illness or anything to be concerned about. It's just your nervous system throwing a little harmless tantrum. Number 8. The disappearing car. This one is a fun mix of physics, psychology, and a healthy dose of paranoia. You're driving down a dark, empty road. Up ahead you see the red taillights of a car. You follow them for a while, keeping your distance, and then you round a corner, and the lights are gone. There was no turn, no other road. Just gone. Did the car just vanish into thin air? No. What you just experienced is likely a combination of sensory adaptation and a phenomenon called motion parallax. Sensory adaptation is simple. Your eyes get used to the low light, and your brain adjusts. But when you turn a corner, the change in perspective and the sudden presence of new visual information can cause your brain to misinterpret the old information. The car didn't vanish. It simply went around a slight bend in the road that, from your previous vantage point, looked like a straight shot. The taillights were still there, but your brain, already fatigued by the darkness and the monotonous drive, temporarily dismissed them as unimportant. You can't focus on everything at once, and in that split second, the car just wasn't a priority. So your brain simply removed it from the story. It's a perfectly normal glitch in your visual system, not a spooky portal to another dimension. Number 7. The face in the trees. Picture this. You're walking through a wooded area at dusk. It's getting dark, and the shadows are starting to play tricks on your eyes. You glance over at a clump of trees, and for a split second, you see a face staring back at you. Maybe it's a distorted, hollow-eyed face, or a wide, gaping mouth. It's a classic fear, but a completely normal psychological phenomenon. It's an advanced form of pareidolia, but this time, it's fueled by our primal fear of the unknown. We've evolved to be wary of things in the shadows, and our brain's facial recognition system is on high alert. When you combine that with a complex visual pattern like branches, leaves, and shadows, your brain can't help but try to find a familiar pattern. And the most familiar pattern to a human brain is another human face. It's a survival mechanism, a leftover evolutionary artifact from a time when seeing a face in the trees could mean the difference between life and death. The brain is so desperate to protect you that it would rather see a face that isn't there than miss a face that is. Number 6. The shadow that follows. Have you ever been walking down a street at night and you can swear there's a shadow walking behind you, perfectly mimicking your movements? You speed up, it speeds up. You slow down, it slows down. You turn, and it turns too. This isn't a ghost, and it's not a trick of the light in the way you might think. This is your brain's visual system playing a weird spatial game with you. The phenomenon is called the Pulfric effect, and it happens when your eyes are processing light at different speeds. It's often caused by an uneven amount of light reaching your retinas, a subtle difference in the nerves of each eye, or even just the slightest difference in the way you're looking at things. One eye's signal arrives at the brain tiny fraction of a second later than the other. When you're walking and a shadow moves across your field of vision, this slight delay causes the brain to perceive the object as being in a different position than it actually is, creating the illusion that it's following you. It's a completely benign neurological quirk, a minor league visual glitch that makes you feel like you're in a low-budget horror film. Number 5. The empty room feeling. You walk into an empty house, or maybe just a quiet, large room. You know for a fact you're alone, but you can't shake the feeling that you're not. It's a prickle on the back of your neck, a subtle shiver, a feeling of being watched. This isn't a sixth sense or some kind of ghostly presence. This is your brain on high alert, running its threat assessment in a space that lacks the normal, comforting stimuli of life. Psychologists call this a form of hypervigilance, and it's a perfectly normal human reaction to quiet, unfamiliar environments. In an empty room, there are no familiar sounds, smells, or visual cues. Your brain is starved for information, and so it starts to create its own. It's expecting a threat, because in our evolutionary past, an empty cave could mean an animal was lurking just out of sight. That silence you're hearing is actually your brain listening for the slightest sign of danger. The feeling of being watched is your nervous system's way of telling you, be ready, because something might be about to happen. Number 4. The echoing footsteps. You're walking down a long hallway or a street with tall buildings on either side. You hear the distinct sound of footsteps behind you perfectly in sync with your own. You stop, and so does the sound. You start walking again, and so do the footsteps. It's unsettling, but it's not a person. It's just you. This is a simple but bizarre auditory illusion known as auditory feedback. When you walk, your footsteps produce a sound that echoes off the walls, floors, and buildings around you. Because you are the source of the sound, your brain naturally interprets the echo as a different sound coming from a different source. The brain knows that a sound should get quieter as the source gets further away, but in this case, the echo stays the same relative distance from you. Your brain, in its attempt to make sense of the sound, creates the illusion of a second person walking behind you. It's your own sound bouncing off the walls and playing a trick on your ears. It's a perfectly normal glitch in your perception, not a stalker. Number 3, the hallway glimpse. You're walking past a dark hallway in your house, and in the fleeting second you glance down it, you see something. A shape, a movement, a flash of something out of place. It's too quick to register, but your brain's alarm bells go off anyway. You stop, look back, and of course, the hallway is empty. This is your brain's saccadic suppression at work. Saccades are the rapid, jerky movements your eyes make as they jump from one point to another. When you perform a saccade, your brain briefly suppresses visual information. It's like a neurological blind spot. But your brain, being a master storyteller, fills in the gap with what it thinks should be there. In a dark, unfamiliar, or low-stimuli environment, the brain often errs on the side of caution and danger. It's a trick of your visual system. You're not seeing something that's there, but rather your brain is creating a phantom image to fill in the blank. It's the visual equivalent of a word you almost heard, a thought that was on the tip of your tongue, and your brain is just trying to make sense of the visual noise. Number 2, the unblinking stare. Imagine you're looking out a window at night. The glass is dark, and as you stare into it, you suddenly see a face in the reflection. It's distorted, blurry, and unnerving. You know it's just your reflection, but for a moment it feels like a stranger is staring back at you. This spooky phenomenon, known as Troxler's fading, is a visual illusion that causes things in your peripheral vision to fade away when you stare at a fixed point. But the reverse is also true in the dark. Your brain, working with very little light information, starts to fill in the details of your reflection. It takes your distorted reflection, adds a bit of imaginative paranoia, and voila, a ghostly face appears. It's a natural function of your visual cortex trying to make sense of low-light reflections, and it's why a prolonged stare into a dark mirror can make you feel so uncomfortable. Your brain is essentially taking the bare minimum of visual information and creating a brand new entity out of it. Number 1, the figure at the end of the bed. This is the big one. It's a scenario so common it has its own pop culture category. Waking up in the middle of the night and seeing a dark, shadowy figure standing at the foot of your bed. The feeling of terror is instant and total. You try to scream, but you can't. You try to move, but you're paralyzed. This is not a ghost. This is not a monster. This is sleep paralysis. It's a temporary state where your body and brain are not on the same page. Your brain wakes up, but the part of your nervous system that keeps you from acting out your dreams is still active. So you're mentally awake but physically paralyzed. The shadow figure is a hypnagogic hallucination, a dream image bleeding into your waking state. Your brain, in its confused state, takes the low light of your room and the general feeling of being vulnerable and projects a terrifying, shadowy figure onto your reality. It's the ultimate brain glitch, a perfect storm of neurology and biology that creates a moment of pure visceral horror. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.